All right, this one is AA10, solving systems of equations through elimination. So look in here. What we're basically going to be doing is like old school adding and subtracting. You're going to be making sure your x's, your y's, and then your extra numbers, your equal signs are all lined up straight up and down from each other. So your x's are on top of one another, your y's on one another, your equal signs on one another, and then whatever's left, that's on top of one another as well. It doesn't matter which side of the equal sign or anything that they're on. It just matters that all four of those line up. X's, y's, equals, and then the extra number. All of those have to line up. Now, the next goal is to get either the x or the y, so it doesn't matter, either the x or the y, doesn't matter, you pick, one opposite of the other. So by looking at this question, question number 1, we already have 2 of them that are the same. So that's a good indicator. That's what I'm going to change. I'm going to ignore the x's just for a second, and I'm only going to focus on the y's. Since one is 7 and the other one is 7, the whole purpose you want to make sure that they're the same, to get them opposite of each other, is to make them cancel. So you want either the y or the x to cancel. Right now, the y is the easiest thing to change since both the y's are 7. And so what you're going to do is make one of them negative. And the reason you're going to do that is because you want this 7 or this 7, one of them to be negative so that they'll cancel out. And so, like I said, doing old school adding and subtracting, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw in this right here. Most people will remember that. And what I'm going to be doing is changing this to a negative segment. Now, it's just like anything else. I'm going to be multiplying everything by -1. That's the reason it changes. So if I multiply this by -1 to make it a negative, because everybody knows a positive times a negative equals a negative. And so that'll change that to a -7. I can't just say it's changed and then that's it. You actually have to do some kind of mathematical operation, and I'm going to be multiplying it by -1 to make that goal accomplished. So by multiplying this by -1, you multiply this by -1, and you multiply this by -1. So by doing that, it'll change all the signs. So this will end up being a -5. This will end up being a -7. And then this -7 will change to a positive. Okay? So all you did was multiply this by -1, multiplied this by -1, you multiplied this by -1. Okay? Now, by doing that, now I'm going to go straight up and down. So straight up and down from each other, I'm going to go down the row. I'm going to go -5 plus 7. Okay, and the reason it's plus 7 is because the 7 is positive. So now remember, we changed this to a negative. So -5 plus 7. Okay, so -5 plus 7 gives you 2. And don't forget your x. Your -7 and your 7 are going to cancel. That's what you want. You can't solve an equation with 2 variables unless you know one of them. So by canceling this the 7y, it gets rid of one of the variables. And that's what you want. Now, you're going to come back to it later. But for solving for one of the variables, you got to get rid of one of the other. And so you're getting rid of the y in this case. Now, could you get rid of the x? Of course you can. It just takes a little bit more math. This was really easy, and so that's why we chose the y. And then equals, and then +7, another +7 gives you 14. Now, you have 2 times x, divide by 2 to get rid of the 2 away from the x, and so you're going to end up getting x equals 7. Now, seems all fine and dandy, but the purpose of a systems of equation is to figure out where 2 points crisscross. So like this is a equation on a graph, and this is another equation on a graph, and you're trying to figure out where do those 2 lines crisscross. Okay, where do they cross? They'll cross one time, no times, but this in case they're going to be crossing one time. The x is 7, and now we got to figure out what the y is. Okay, so you're going to put every answer into an ordered pair form. So like points on a grid. The x is going to be 7. You still got to figure out the y. Okay, there's always 2 answers. You got to figure out the y. So now, figuring out the y, you got to plug this x back into one of these 2 equations. And if you're ever going to plug it into the one you changed, you can't do that. You must plug it into the original problem. Okay, so you can't plug it into -5x because that wasn't the original problem. So just for saving a little bit of time, I'm not going to worry about changing this back. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the bottom question. So you're going to do 7 times 7. So like right here, 7x, and x is 7. So 7 times 7. And sorry, there's a lot of 7s in this question. Plus 7y equals 7. Now you're probably looking at going, well, you canceled the y's. No, we canceled it for this particular part of the problem, okay? Just to figure out what the x is. Now we got to go back and reuse it again, okay? So 7 times 7 is 49, obviously. And then 7y equals 7. And now we're going to do this problem right here. You got to get rid of the 49. So we've done, this is just like a two-step equation. So you're going to be subtracting 49, so you can get the 49 to that side, okay? You want to be able to move it over here, and so by subtracting 49 from this side, it's just like a scale. This is part of the scale. The other side of the equal sign is another part of the scale. I'm taking 49, whatever it is, 49 away from this side, so I must take 49 away from this side in order to keep it remaining equal. If it doesn't remain equal, that means I subtracted 49 from here and didn't do anything over here. It's not going to be equal anymore. It's going to be lopsided. So this will end up being heavier than this side on a scale. So by taking 49 away, you're left with 7y on this side. And then you're going to do 7 minus 49. And that's going to give you negative 42. Okay? And then like you did up here, when you divide it by 2, it's 2 times x. Well, now you're doing it down here and it's 7 times y. So you're going to divide it by 7, divide it by 7, and then you'll get y equals negative, because negative divided by a positive leaves you with a negative. So a negative 6. So you're going to go back up here. This answer will be 7, negative 6. And if you're ever trying to figure out, okay, how do I know if that's right or not? Well, plug them both in. Plug in that for x, since that is the x on the axis, and then this is the y. Like, so if you're going to plot a point, you go x first, y second. Well, right here, you can plug that 7, this 7 right here, in for that x, and then you can plug that negative 6 in right there for that y. So you can go 7 times 7, which is 49, and then 7 times negative 6, positive times a negative is a negative, and that gives you 42. So 49 plus negative 42 gives you 7. Okay, so it worked there, and then you do the same thing for the top. Remember, you got to plug it back into the original, so 5x plus 7y equals negative 7. So plug that back into the original problem, and it will give you 7, negative 6 also. All right, we'll do one more for this video, and then I'm going to upload a new one. I can't upload too many big ones at a time. It doesn't match up. Now, looking here, back at the first problem, we had a change up here. The second problem is a little different. If you look, you have negative 4x and 4x. So over here we had 7 and 7, 7y, 7y, top and bottom. Well now, luckily for us, this one's already opposite. So we don't actually have to change anything, okay? So if negative 4 and 4, they'll cancel already. And then now we got to look at is our y's and our 8's. Is it lined up? This is lined up. The equal signs, the y's, and the x. Everything's lined up. Plus, minus signs, they don't matter. Okay, just the x's, the y's, the equal signs, and then the extra numbers. They all have to be lined up. Doesn't matter where they add on the equal sign as long as everything's lined up. So, old school add and subtract. So throw your line in there, and if you feel like it, you can put your little plus sign to the side, just for giggles. You have negative 4 and 4. Those will cancel. That'll go away. And now you have negative 6 and positive 4. So negative 6 plus 4, okay, negative 6 plus 4 is going to give you negative 2. And then don't forget your y. And now we have negative 8, negative 8. That'll give you negative 16. Okay, so negative 8 plus negative 8, or you could say negative 8 minus 8. Either way, gives you the same thing. So now we're going to divide by negative 2. So remember, you got to take the negative with it, because if you don't take the negative with it, that means the y is not by itself. So divide by negative 2 gives you y equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and that'll give you positive 8. So there's your y. Now remember, you're looking for 2 answers. That gives you your y. Now we got to find our x. Okay, so plug this back into one of the problems. Most people want to try to keep it with the positive, so we're going to go ahead and go with the positive for right now. So we're going to keep the bottom one. You can plug it into either one, doesn't matter, but like I said, most people like to keep it positive, so we're going to keep it positive. So 4x. We're looking for the x now since we already found the y. And then we're going to do plus 4. And instead of putting y, we're going to add. We're going to throw in that 8 being multiplied because it is 4 times y. And then we're going to be doing 4 times 8 equals negative 8. Oop, not 8, not 10. Now, 4 times 8. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and 4x. I'm going to bring that guy down. Plus, and then 4 times 8. So we get 32 equals negative 8. Now, since this is a plus 42, we're going to have to subtract it to get rid of it. And like I said, what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So subtract 32. And then negative 8 and negative 32 make negative 40. That's going to equal, and then bring down your 4x. That guy hadn't been used yet. Now, it is 4 times x, so like we've done so far. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. And that gives you x is negative 10. Because negative divided by a positive gives a negative. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So go up here to your x, and it's negative 10. All right, I'm going to add another video here in just a second. So look for that for the other. I got 4 more problems to do.